Hello, everybody. It's Monday. Welcome to Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. I am John Schmeelk. He is Paul Dottino. We're taking your calls at 201-939-4513. Paul, 21-6. Giants fall to the Commanders in Week 1. And just when you look back at it, no touchdowns scored. You're not going to win many games doing that. 0 of 2 in the red zone. Just touchdowns in the red zone. Just 1 field goal and 2 red zone appearances. You're not going to win many games doing that. They did not turn the ball over. That was good.
Yeah.
But 4 of 16 on third downs. You're not going to win many games doing that. 231 total yards of offense. You're not going to win many games doing that. And I wish I can come on here today, folks, and say, well, offensively, if you just fix this one thing, you're going to be fine. This has plenty of blame to go around, Paul. Just it seemed out of sync for much of the game. Nobody, I thought, played at a particularly high level, and just a lot of corrections and things to be better at next week heading into Dallas.
You know, we often, as football people, talk about every game has a road to victory or a pathway to success. Yesterday, the Giants threw away the map.
Well, they lost it. Right.
They didn't follow any of those roads.
Well, I think they tried. They just kept hitting like potholes and construction, and a lot of those things were self-inflicted things, and not things that even the Commanders did.
Well, you know what's interesting? We were very much concerned, obviously, as football folks, thinking about Andrew Thomas. And is Andrew Thomas's absence going to discombobulate the offensive line? Are they going to have trouble keeping Wilson up? Is this going to be a big impact? Because we know when Thomas is not in the lineup, the Giants' O-line usually doesn't play that well. But yet I think, John, you and I have not talked about the game yet this morning.
Not at all. Not at all.
So, folks, this is totally on the improv. It was the interior of the Giants' offensive line that was more offensive to me than the guys on the edge.
I thought it was the bigger problem. I agree with you. I think when you got to the fourth quarter and the pass rush for the Commanders really got to get going, Hudson had a couple of issues there.
Yeah.
And I thought you did have some issues on games between Runyon and Hudson in the first half of the game, on or second and third quarter on some passing situations. But for the most part, I agree. The issues came in the middle of the line. Well, by the way, whether it was in the run game, where there was a lot of penetration, where Tyrone Tracy's trying to, or Cam Scadaboo's trying to dodge guys a yard or two in the backfield, or guys, even if they weren't in Russell Wilson's face, they were pushing the Giants' offensive lineman into his chest. And when you have a quarterback that's 5'11", it's going to be very difficult for him to survive and succeed with interior pressure. So overall, yes, Paul, I agree with you.
So, you know, if you're going to start there, right, the first thing you have to do is you've got to get back to those 3 guys on the interior, and you got to say, fellas, look.
And by the way, I thought Schmitz was okay. I thought he was probably the best of the 3.
He was better than the 2 guards.
Yes.
But that doesn't say much.
I didn't say it did.
Yeah. So if you're gonna stick with, you know, what you're trying to do, you want to be balanced, you want to be able to run the ball, you want Russell Wilson to be able to see through an open window, to be able to operate and do what he wants to do. If you're going to do that, you absolutely, positively have to get better play from the 3 guys on the interior. Whether or not it's them, or even if you decide you're going to mix and match and put other guys in, whatever it is that you want to do. This is not Andrew Thomas gets healthy. You plug him in at left tackle and it's okay. That's my point.
I agree with you.
I don't want anybody out there to start talking or singing a song that, oh, Andrew Thomas is going to get back and it's fine. That's the only point that I really want to make here.
Okay, Andrew Thomas would have helped. Would have made things better.
Would have helped some, maybe.
But you still would have had a lot of the same issues you had. Beyond the issues up front, and look, then you get into second and third and long, and that's not a situation you want to be in. I thought in the second half, again, because he had so much pressure inside and in his face, and he took a couple big hits on those free runners on a couple of those blitzes where Russell Wilson got absolutely lit up.
He sure did.
And got the ball out, by the way. He got rid of the ball in those 2 plays, but he still got hammered after the throw. I thought there were a couple of clean pockets in the second half that he did kind of run out of prematurely, where maybe he would have chanced to get the There was one play where Slayton broke out deep, open downfield on one, and he had already rolled out to the right where I didn't think he had to on that play. There was another one where I think he ran through the middle of the line early when he didn't have to. So I thought there were a handful, maybe a little less than that, of plays in the second half where you could tell the attrition of the number of hits and the constant pressure he felt earlier in the game. I thought, and again, we've seen this with other quarterbacks before, impacted him late in the game. And Paul, I think you were on with me. I went through those Warren Sharp numbers in the summer for the people that listen to our show all year round. Russell Wilson was a top 10 EPA per play quarterback last year, and he was kept clean. He was I think, bottom 4 or 5 quarterback last year, EPA per play wise. This is on early downs when he faced pressure. It is essential, and again, especially the interior pressure because he's a shorter quarterback.
Right.
If you want him to be effective, you're going to have to keep him clean. That's just the way it is. And the Giants, for the most part, were not able to do that in week number 1.
And, the funny part about this is, folks, we say pressure, right? That's not an indictment on his ability to process or to handle that situation. When we say pressure, especially from the front, it's just simple physics. He can't always see, John.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't mean
That's it. He just can't see.
And I don't mean, just so people understand, most people do. I don't mean like feeling mental pressure. I mean physical pass rushers being close to him. That's what I mean by pressure.
Clogging up your vision, not being able to give you what you need to see and make the plays. Now, you can roll out. You can use the moving pockets. There are certain things. And quite frankly, earlier in his career, there was a lot of that in Seattle. Yeah. And even during the course of time, when they didn't always have Marshawn Lynch churning out yardage, they did have to do a lot of that. Because he was still taking 40 sacks a year, as you have told us many times by looking at his numbers, John. He does get hit a lot. He does. To his credit, and I mean this, to Russell Wilson's credit, you're looking for a silver lining here. Russell Wilson came out of the game healthy, came out of the game without any turnovers, still has his energy and his positive attitude, which he always seems to have, and I love that. How can you not? But he never let the game get out of control because they were really on the wrong side of a lopsided contest, and yet it was only 14-6 in the fourth quarter.
And two other things. One, I'm not trying to tell you that Russell Wilson played a great game either.
He didn't play great.
No, but he had a couple throws that could have been better.
But he didn't collapse, is my point.
No, he did not collapse. And by the way, I know we all talk about Russell Wilson takes sacks and holds the ball. PFF this week, 13th in the league in average time to throw, 2.76 seconds. That is not a high average time to throw.
He did okay.
That is not a high average time to throw.
And you know what? His elusiveness was pretty good considering some of the guys in his face.
Correct.
He did a pretty good job of getting out in time.
And there were a couple plays, too, where he was not helped by drops again, by players on the team.
Yes,
by the way,
sir.
Running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers, all three.
No doubt.
They did not get help there. And, you talked about keeping the game close, Paul, and I thought, and I'll start with the positive, I thought the Giants' defense played better in the second half. Mm-hmm. They forced 3 legitimate stops on the Commanders on their first 3 drives of the second half. I don't think they were gifted anything on those 3 drives. But this game legitimately could have been 28-3 at halftime. Jaden Daniels did not play well throwing the ball. He was throwing the ball behind guys. He missed Terry McLaurin wide open on a deep ball that could have went for a touchdown. Zach Ertz drops 2 passes over the middle. Mm-hmm. Jalen Lane dropped a pass over the middle. I think Noah Brown, Debo dropped a high one over the middle. I think Noah Brown might have dropped one too. They had 5 or 6 drops to Commanders. So they could have had a couple other big plays in that first half that could have went for scores. Now, again, the defense settled down to their credit. They played a lot better in the second half. But they're lucky this game wasn't out of hand at halftime.
Well, they were extremely fortunate to get the 10-second runoff at the end of the first half.
That too.
Which in itself was an automatic 3 points, for sure. I think, folks, what really gets to me, and again, it was clear from the get-go, Washington was heavily outplaying the Giants throughout the course of the day. That was obvious. We're watching the game, and we could see that happening. But what bothers me, to be honest with you, it's 14-3 at halftime, and there are 2 particular parts to this game that really punch me in the stomach.
All right, what do you got?
Well, you get the third quarter kickoff. You're down 14-3. You got the opportunity to regroup. you go into the locker room and you have a chance to catch your breath and say, you know what? We didn't play a good first half of football, and it's only 14-3. We just escaped without them scoring at the end of the second quarter, and we get the ball. And what happens? First down pass to Neighbors for a first down.
Good play. Get it out of his hands quickly.
And I'm thinking to myself,
target your best player.
Let's go. Maybe we got a game.
Those are the types of passes that they were completing on their long drive in the end of the first quarter on their really one successful drive.
And then what do you get? Tracy for 6.
Good.
Tracy for none. And then sack. So it becomes a 3-and-out after the initial first down play. They punt the ball, and it's like, okay, wait a minute. This was your chance to get some spark going. Now,
and then on the next possession, Paul, the first play, no gain on a run. The same thing.
Well, the Commanders, they get the ball back, and then you're right. And what do they do on that second possession you're talking about? 3-and-out. 3-and-out. Wait a minute. It's like this was your chance to turn the momentum. This was the opportunity right here. In the first part of that third quarter, it's 14-3, and you've got a chance now to maybe spark something, turn the momentum of the game, and give yourselves a chance because Washington has not run away with it. And that was the first part. All right, here's the second one that kills me.
And by the way, can I just throw one more thing in there?
Go.
Then they get Washington to go 3-and-out again. You get the ball back.
Yes.
And you have a 1st and 10 at Washington's 33-yard line. You complete a 15-yard pass to get it into the red zone. It gets called back because of an offensive holding penalty on James Hudson. That puts you in the 2nd and 20, and you eventually have to settle for the Graham Gano 55-yard field goal.
Okay, so now...
Sorry, I didn't mean to go long, but
and that's okay.
I just wanted to make the point that the defense did give them another chance.
And at least they got some points.
They did
on
get
that
some
drive,
points. That
right?
is correct. Yes.
So now it's 14-6 at the end of the third quarter. And John, I'm telling you, I'm thinking to myself, this is that old thing that you always hear from the football sages who say, if you let a team hang around long enough, maybe they'll bite you in the butt.
Right.
And I'm thinking maybe the Giants have some sharp teeth here. Maybe they can bite Washington in the butt in the fourth quarter. And then what happens in the fourth quarter? They get the ball to midfield on their first possession of the fourth quarter. They get it out to midfield.
By the way, after another stop after that Gano field goal.
And I'm like, all right, this may be their last chance, right? Okay, Corral, last chance. Make a stand. Get something out of it. Turn it into something. Complimentary football. And what happens? They get the touchback on the punt by Gillen. So the Commanders take over at their 20-yard line, and they go 9 plays, and they go from the 20-yard line all the way down. Samuel's 19-yard run finishes it off. Touchdown, 9 plays, 80 yards. And oh, by the way, 6 of those 9 plays were for 10 yards or more. That was the killer drive that just split my guts open and poured it all on the floor.
Well, wow, that's graphic. I'm going to go back to the Giants drive before that, Paul, because my point at the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth, the Giants defense again gets their third stop of the second half. The Giants get the ball at their own 12-yard line. They get a 16-yard pass to Neighbors. Good route, little stick route. Wilson is able to step into his throw, gets it to Neighbors on the perimeter. Then Russell Wilson scrambles for 15 yards. You gain 31 yards in 2 plays. You have it at the 43-yard line. Wilson throws an incomplete pass deep left. Tyrone Tracy catches a short pass for 6 yards. And then 3rd and 4 at midfield, Wilson hits Tracy about 2 yards down the field. Tracy catches it. Reeves steps in there, knocks the ball loose. They call it incomplete.
Yes.
Even if he's short there, but he holds on to the ball, it's going to be 4th and maybe 2 yards at the Commanders' 49-yard line.
You going for it?
You might. You're not going in on 4th and 4, but on 4th and 2 or 4th and 1.5, you might. But
I'm playing field position. I want to stick them back. I'm not doing it.
But the case might be you're eliminating the option.
Yes, you are.
Right? And I don't have to look again where exactly Tracy had it, but I think it would have been about a 2 or 2.5 yard gain.
Mm-hmm.
On 3rd and 1.5, a 4th and 1.5, you can go for that. 4th and 4 is a little bit tougher. So it's just little things all throughout this game. The offense, again, they just, Neighbors had a chance to make a contested catch on the sideline that went through his hands. He couldn't make the catch. People getting on him on the ball in the end zone on the drive with the Giants had those 7 failures.
He would have been out of
10.
bounds.
No, not the one in the corner.
On the corner, he would have been out of bounds.
On the first drive, where the 7 chances in goal to go.
Right.
On the 4th down play, where there was called for a defense. I think that was the illegal hands to the face penalty.
Yes.
Where he kind of hit Neighbors going back towards the middle. I looked at it on tape a few times. I would not consider that a drop. I think the defensive back got his hand on the ball and knocked it away.
I did not charge him.
Could he have maybe caught it? Yes. It would have been a really, really, really good catch. So I'm not going to get him on that one.
I did not charge him either.
But like on the final drive, I know the game was kind of over at that point. Can Wendell Robinson make the diving catch that hits him right in the hands? And then can Robinson not fall down after he catches the little wheel route on the left sideline? He caught it, and he got a nice, 18, 20-yard gain. But if he keeps his feet, he could run 40 yards for a touchdown on that play. So, again, I thought Wendell Robinson actually played a really good game. He had a couple key third down conversions early, so I'm not trying to pick on him. But just a lot of guys had chances to make plays in this game, whether it was the quarterback, the wide receivers. Theo Johnson had a drop.
Theo Johnson had 2.
2 drops, sorry. Yeah, one in the first half, one in the second on short passes into the flat area. And guys had chances to make plays. I mentioned the Tracy play where he couldn't hold on to the ball. Talked about the offensive line issues. Guys had chances to make plays on offense to keep them in this game and win this game. And just nobody could make that play when they needed it in big spots.
Now, it would have been worse had Robinson held on to that ball because there was an illegal formation called on the Giants against Luminor. So had Robinson held on to that ball for the first down, you're talking about the third down and inches at the 44?
No, wait, which play you're talking about? I was talking about the final drive when he went deep down the right sideline, had a potential diving catch, and he couldn't come up with it. That was the play I was talking about. It was 3rd and 1, 6:01 to go in the fourth quarter. That's the play I was talking about.
Right.
Oh, you're right. That was an illegal formation on Luminor. I take it back. You're right. That was.
Right. So
correct.
He makes that play.
Yes.
You're gonna be kicking yourself in the head like, oh, they're taking it back.
You're right. It's a good point. They ended up accepting the penalty anyway, and that's when he caught the wheel right on the final on the next play. Which again, I thought he should have kept his feet on that play and could have potentially kept running.
So basically, folks, what we've told you is that the Giants followed the exact roadmap that you need to follow in terms of execution to lose a game. It's the wrong map. That's what it was. It was the wrong map.
Yeah, and look, Brian Burns played well, I thought. He did a good job, I thought, containing Daniels on a couple of those read options. He had the 2 sacks. Give Cordell Flott credit on his first sack, by the way, because he's the one that blew up that screen pass that forced Daniels to hold it, that allowed Burns to get that sack. A couple of things in the defense, Paul. I thought there was just too much airspace a lot of the time on some of these plays down the field. A bunch of these, in-cutting routes. Giants defensive backs were just behind a little bit. Deebo Samuel, Zach Ertz, Noah Brown, Jalen Lane. They all got open on these deep in-cuts in the middle of the field. So these are some of the things that, they have to be a little bit better at, especially next week against CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. You're going to have to give a little less airspace to these guys. And look, I get it.
Or be more physical in the first 5 yards, John.
Well, that's...
How about not giving them as many free releases?
And I understand why you play a lot of zone in this game because of Jaden Daniels' running ability. You don't want to play man. You turn your back. Jaden Daniels runs for 1 billion yards. I get that. But Carl Banks made this point on his podcast with Bob Papa. You can play zone but still redirect guys at the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
And there was not enough of that.
I agree. I did think that Brian Burns played a very gritty game once again. He had a couple of sacks in the second quarter. He did chase Daniels a number of times.
I thought Burns was their best defensive player.
Without a doubt. He was their best player, period, on either side of the ball.
No, I agree with that.
Brian Burns played well yesterday. Very frustrating for him, for sure. And then the other item that I really kind of was like, man, that's something else. Abdul Carter. 3 times he got around the edge on the punt block unit, almost got 2, and was able to get the one sandwiched in between where he got his hand on it for a partially blocked punt. You just said to me a moment ago before we started, John, they're going to have to scheme against him now. Teams are going to have to be aware. This guy, his bend around the edge, it's not just for regular standard defense. He is something else getting after that kicker.
No, he is, and he's very good at it. So that is something teams will have to scheme against them a little bit. But overall, just a disappointing performance, and we're going to get to your calls right now at 201-939-4513. I took calls for an hour yesterday on the post-game show. As you imagine, people were not happy. I don't expect you to be happy, but we're happy to talk about the game and break things down for you. Brian Dable will be speaking today at 1:30 right after the show. We asked Coach to move it up for an hour. He did not say yes to us, which is fine. I did not actually ask that question, but I wish I
No,
had
you're
been.
a lot smarter than that.
Yes,
John.
I am actually smarter than that. I'm not that smart. I am that smart.
Yes.
Correct. So
And hopefully we'll hear something about McFadden's injury.
yes, the reports were yesterday that the X-rays were negative. He was on the sideline at some
Mike
point,
Garofalo had put that out.
which is great. Great news. Again, that doesn't mean he's not going to be out for a while or what the injury is going to be, but you'd rather have negative X-rays than it show a fracture. So that's a good thing, at least in the short term. And after the game, Brian Dable said this game was not on Russell Wilson. I have a lot of respect for Russ, but he also did not commit to who the starting quarterback was in week 2. So we will see what he says today. I'm sure he will be asked the question. I would imagine he'll probably have an answer today, but who knows? Maybe not. If we get that before we sign off, we will certainly let you know what Brian Dable has to say about that. 201-939-4513. Folks, go subscribe to the Giants Huddle podcast. A lot of good episodes last week. Some season preview, big picture stuff for the Giants. You can still go back and listen if you like. Chris Mad Dog Russo was on Saturday. That was just a fun interview. You like to laugh at Dog. He's kind of crazy. You know, Chris, he's great. And he and I had a lot of fun. So go check that out last week. Our Brian Burns interview on Friday was also very good. And it still holds. I think it still holds water, even though they played the game already. If you guys want to go check that out, Giants YouTube channel, Giants app, Giants.com/podcast, or your favorite podcast platform. All right, 201-939-4513. I got some new names on this caller list. That gets me excited. Jonathan is in Westchester. Jonathan, what's going on?
How are you guys?
Hi.
Could be better, Jonathan. How about you?
Yeah, same here. Long time no speak. Good to speak with you again. So two comments. One pertaining to the offensive line and the other on the tight end position. So, Paul, to your comment before about the interior offensive line, I agree with you. I think it was a major issue yesterday. Wanted to run a few ideas by you to see if they could maybe it wouldn't solve the problem, but address the issue. Maybe. So I was surprised when the inactives list came out yesterday and Evan Neal was on it.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if maybe they could activate him for the Cowboys game and at least use him at guard on running plays in the red zone or on 3rd and short. And the second one is in the preseason, I loved watching Chapman come and, flatten guys when he was playing fullback. I don't think they lose much in terms of run defense by activating Chapman instead of maybe Davidson or Garcia. So, two small things that maybe could make a difference on run plays. And then wanted to get your thoughts also on the tight end position. I was disappointed by the tight end play yesterday. I thought Theo Johnson dropped 2 passes, that he should have caught, and Bellinger didn't play a big role. What about the idea of maybe re-signing Dulcich from the Dolphins practice squad? I feel like he has a skill set that none of the other Giants tight ends really have. He has great hands. He's able to create separation over the middle of the field, and he has a knack for making plays in the red zone. I was watching one of the preseason games, and Phil Simms was talking about how long it's been since the Giants had a tight end who could get open over the middle of the field like that. And Brady also yesterday was talking about how when you're in the red zone, you rely on your backup tight end. So I'll hang up and listen to your responses. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Can I take the later one first and then you flop to the other one?
How about I just say something very quickly, and then you can take all of them if you want. I don't think Jonathan has bad points. I think a lot of the stuff he says makes logical sense. I also think it's the equivalency of putting a Band-Aid on a gaping chest wound at this point. I don't think the things that he talked about would have made a difference in what happened yesterday.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I do want to address the tight end situation. Bellinger got involved with a target late in the game and did catch the ball inside the 5, I believe.
I actually thought that might have been Russell Wilson's best throw of the day.
It was really right in there.
Nice little slant over the middle.
Perfect.
Great throw.
It was perfect. I don't know I don't know exactly how they want to delineate the snaps with the tight ends. You have the numbers here for the snap counts.
Theo Johnson, 53 snaps, 78%. That's why I brought it up. Manhurts, 18 snaps, 26%. And Bellinger, 15 snaps, 22%.
Yeah, I personally would like to see Bellinger get some more time because I do think that over the course of his career with the Giants, he usually has been very reliable catching the ball. Now, he's not as dynamic or as athletic as Theo Johnson is.
Or Dulcich or Fedoni.
Correct. But the one thing about Bellinger is, I will tell you, even though he had some inconsistencies with his blocking and he got called for a few too many penalties, I understand that. The one thing about him is that usually when the ball's thrown to him, he holds on. And, I wouldn't have mind seeing him maybe getting a little more action, a few more targets. But the problem is when your quarterback's running for his life, he doesn't have a lot of chances to throw it to a lot of people. And that's the one thing I would say. So I don't know that playing Bellinger a little bit more, like John said, it's a Band-Aid over a gaping hole. I don't know that would have made a difference in the game anyway. But I do appreciate your appreciation for Bellinger's game. The other item I would simply address in terms of Elijah Chapman. Look, the Giants obviously figured that they wanted to bring Garcia up off the practice squad because they feel he's a bigger guy, and I know Dre Patterson likes him very much. The Giants had a lot of trouble, obviously, yesterday dealing with the run game. A lot of it was either missed tackles again, or Jaden Daniels also was very, very good in running the football, which we all know he has a capability of doing on any given week. I don't know that Elijah Chapman would have helped that at all. And what's he going to do? Get in the game for 3 snaps at fullback, John? Maybe. I mean, even if you put Chapman up on the active game day roster, even as the, quote, fullback, he's going to play, 4 snaps? How is that going to make a difference either?
I was going to say, I think Bellinger took, 2 snaps at fullback yesterday?
He did.
It was 2 at fullback? So, yeah, I agree with you, and I don't think that would make that big of a difference. And I don't think the receiving ability as a tight ends really, move the needle a ton, to be honest with you. I don't think that was the big issue yesterday. Having Dulcich out there is not going to help you in the run game.
No, I mean, besides, if you go and you sign Dulcich, now you got to get rid of another body.
Yeah, and what
do you want to do?
And they kept Fedoni, so if you're going to put an athletic tight end, it's going to be Fedoni. You're not going to let him go and then bring in Dulcich for that.
No, that makes no sense. And
correct.
Fedoni himself was scratched yesterday.
Yes, there was a third point in there somewhere, but I don't remember.
About
using Evan Neal on rundowns. Look, I think it paints you a pretty clear picture that he's their 4th guard at this point.
That's what it looks like.
So, I don't think you're going to start rotating offensive linemen again. You can't rotate players based on what type of play you're going to call, because that is then going to be a tell to the defense what you're going to do. So I get where you're coming from. I just don't see it happening.
No. Now, if at some point over the course of time, and we even said this before opening day, I had this talk with Matt, maybe we did too, that the way Evan Neal was progressing during training camp, if the arrow continued to point up for him, he could potentially seize one of the guards' jobs maybe a month or 2 into the season. That was not out of the realm of possibility. Is it still possible that as Evan Neal continues to work, maybe he can insert himself as a potential substitute or potential guy you would want to switch in? Maybe that can happen. Obviously, it was not the case, though, yesterday.
No, he's not there yet. All right, let's go to Lance in Texas. Lance, what's going on?
Oh, hey, John Paul. Thanks for taking my call. Great show. I've been listening to a lot of analysis about the game, and I think you guys are just nailing it, bringing up the points about the offensive line and Russell Wilson's size behind that line and, different things you're talking about. Great job.
Thank you.
You won't. I wanted to talk about the offensive line. And, John, I know you mentioned that you like Schmidt. And I think he's a disaster. I watched him a lot.
Oh, no. Time out. That's all I said is that he played better than the 2 guards in this game. That's all I said.
Wow.
Well,
I mean, it was pitiful. It just pitiful. But with Schmidt, I don't see any push on the run. 0. And I see him getting pushed way back on pass plays. And I personally, right now, I think Van Roten is the backup center. I'd move him over there. I'd bring in Neal, and I know Neal's terrible on pass protection. And I bring in Scadaboo. And in relation to Scadaboo, I mean, when he came in on that first play and just leveled that blitzing linebacker, and, Wilson had a nice throw. The guy was wide open. It was a big play. And I thought that was sensational. And then Scadaboo on the next play, I mean, he broke 2 tackles and then took another guy or 2 to get him down. I thought, oh, you know what? If nothing else, leave him back there with Wilson for protection, to block. And not only that, he is an excellent receiver and, something. But that line's pitiful. I mean, I don't think there's a starter on that line right now, a legitimate starter. I blame Joe Shane for this. I think he's done a terrible job of drafting across the board. I mean, Malik Neighbors fell into his lap.
What do you mean? No, talking about Lance. What does that mean? Fell into his lap? He was there to be drafted.
Well, because Neighbors was, one of the top-rated players, and I don't think there's a general manager, John, that would have passed on him.
Lance, they had a chance that Roma Dunze and Malik Neighbors was very close to each other on a lot of people's draft boards. Some people had a Dunze ranked ahead of Neighbors on their draft board. So I don't think that was like a slant. To me, the Abdul Carter pick this year was a lot easier than the Neighbors pick last year.
By miles.
Okay, I'll concede that point. But as far as Carter goes, I did have a question about him. Could the Giants have used him to spy the quarterback, Daniels? Could they have used him to spy Daniels? Would that have been an effective maneuver?
Let me just say this to you. Once Micah McFadden got injured,
and thanks, Lance, appreciate the
at
call,
the very beginning of the game.
Something I got Lance sent that to Texas, by the way, but that wasn't him. I was disappointed.
Once Micah McFadden got injured earlier in the game, now Darius Muasau had to come in and play next to Okereke. Now, I don't want to disparage Muasau in any way, okay? He made this team. He's a solid player. He's a really good kid. But Micah McFadden has had the arrow pointing up ever since he got here, had over 100 tackles last year, played extremely well, looked like, he was primed to continue the ascending off of a career year. He is a very mobile linebacker, more mobile than Muasau. I think he is. You could do a little bit more with him. When you're trying to now alter what you're trying to do, he's out of there, Muasau's in there, now you got to do some different things. How are you going to want to use Abdul Carter if Abdul Carter is in the game? It changes things a little bit. Now, I'm not telling you that's why the Giants lost, so please, nobody tweet me about that. I'm not going to suggest that at all. But there is no doubt that if you take Carter and just spy him on Daniels, there were a few times he was kind of pseudo-spying him, but now you're taking out too often your most athletic, one of your more dangerous players out of your scheme.
To me, Bobby Okereke is just as athletic in the open field as Abdul Carter is, so just have him spy him then. I talked about this with multiple people last week, and I was never fully on board with the whole spying Carter thing. That was not my thing. I was not super excited about it. I didn't think it made sense. I want Carter going after the quarterback, not watching the quarterback and then reacting to him. I want to use him for what he does best. That doesn't mean you can't use it as a switch up or things like that.
Correct.
But also when you play zone as much as the Giants did, the Giants, I'm taking a look at the numbers here. I have them down for playing man, according to PFF, only 16 times during the game. If you're playing zone, you don't use a spy. The whole point of playing zone is that there's no spy because your players are all looking at the quarterback anyway, so you don't have to spy him.
Right.
And watching some of those Daniel scrambles, a lot of them, frankly, they were to the perimeter. There weren't a lot of through the middle scrambles necessarily.
No.
So, and look, that's just speed from Daniels beating people to the edge. The guy's a 4.4 athlete. He's really, really fast. So, look, Daniels did hurt them. I will say this too, and this is kind of a separate topic. I didn't think the run defense was as poor as the final statistics would indicate. I'm not telling you it was good, But if you look at the, 221 total rushing yards into the game?
Well, there was the
220?
40-yard plus in garbage time.
And then he had another 8-yard run after that. So that's 55 yards on the final drive that really didn't matter. And then of Daniel's 68 rushing yards, 60, 55 were scrambles?
Yeah.
So just in terms of designed run plays, if you take out the garbage time, you're already down to just like 110 rushing. I mean, I'm sorry, that's a little bit much. You would be down to about 100. Yeah, because you got about 50 on the last drive on the cross the American garbage time, and then another 50 worth of Daniel scrambling. So that's about 100 yards off. So if you're about 120 yards of like real runs. But with that said, if you look at the halftime stats, and I'll bring that up very quickly here, if I can get to the right page quickly, the yards per carry numbers still were not good enough. In the first half, Krosky-Merritt was 4 carries, 24 yards, and Eckler was 5 carries, 23 yards. 6 yards a carry and 4.5 yards per carry. So while, again, I don't think the rush defense was as bad as oh my gosh, they gave up 220 yards might indicate, it still was not good enough.
No, it was not.
But to me, it was how they covered was a much bigger reason why they lost this game than how they defended the run. That's just my personal opinion.
Well, I agree with that, and I'm sorry to say, every player is going to need some time to scrape off the rust. And I'm not going to finger Dexter Lawrence here for them losing this game, but he was not his typical self.
He was not his typical self.
And you know what? His typical self is all world.
And in the second half, he did have some moments. He still had some good plays in the run game where he got inside and he made a couple of plays. But, in the past, even double teams would have trouble turning him in the run game and creating a hole. That happened a couple of times. He did not get, when he had the seldom times he got a one-on-one in pass protection.
Yeah.
It was not the immediate domination that we had seen in the past.
No.
He would still win, but it took a little bit more time than maybe it would when he was at his peak. So I'm with you. I think he did not look like regular Dexter Lawrence to me.
He wasn't as sharp as he usually is.
Yeah.
That's all. But, again, the avalanche of so many different things that the Giants were not doing well, you combined it, and this is what you get. I mean, that's why I almost hate talking about the individual players like we're doing here, because this was really a widespread situation.
Well, and that's why I opened the show the way I did. I thought it was a team loss, especially offensively.
Without a doubt.
And look, guys, just speaking generally, and you could apply this to any position, you go through an entire offseason, an evaluation process, in practices and OTAs and joint practices and preseason games, and you evaluate these players, and you decide who your best players are going to be. I'm always leery of just changing your mind after one game.
Right.
I feel like you need to have a little bit more of a sample size. Guys have poor games. Teams have poor games. And I understand for fans, this is a buildup of the last 2 seasons plus this one game. But that's not how teams look at it, right?
They can't.
And I think you have to give this group another shot here to roll out there and see how you do. If you have multiple games where you come out, you have the same issues and the same results, then maybe you can start talking about changes. I'm never a big fan, Paul, after one game to say, all right, I want to bench this guy, I want to change this guy, I want to bring him out, I want to sign off this guy's practice squad. That looks like panic, right? You don't want to just disregard all your prior decisions and evaluations based off one performance in the first game of the year, where, again, I say this a million times, weird things happen in week 1. So I think you got to run this back a little bit. That might drive fans nuts, and I'm sorry, you can call up and yell at me. I apologize, but I think that's kind of what you have to do here.
You shouldn't have invited them.
Nah, that people are going to yell at me anyway. That's fine. I don't mind. I don't mind being a punching bag. It's fine.
No, it's funny, John, because going in for months talking about this schedule, the thought has always been try to split the first 2 games.
Yes, correct. And you can still do that, by the way.
And that's the point, right? The point is, everything about yesterday was ugly. Everything about yesterday was I'm not going to use any more adjectives. It was just not good. Okay?
There we go.
How about that? Just not good.
I'm with you.
Okay. But the point is, if you come back and you beat Dallas, you get the 1-1 that you've probably been asking for the last 6 months.
And if you get the 1-1 coming home against Kansas City, you feel good about it.
And
I'm with you.
I'm not a golfer, by the way. Pearson, chime in on this, please. chime in on this. So you double bogey the first hole, but then all of a sudden, by the time you get to the fifth hole, you realize you're at even par, and then you go on from there, right?
You nailed it, Paul.
Well, I mean, I think
need a birdie.
Pierce, I think the bigger point is that if you have one bad slice off the tee, you don't think about redesigning your whole shot, your whole swing.
Right.
No, you don't.
Or
Full round, maybe.
Or toss the entire bag of clubs away, right? I've got to get new clubs. It must be the clubs.
Now, if you have a couple bad shots at the driving range before you start, then you're just redesigning everything.
I know a lot of people who just get new clubs when things are wrong.
That
Never really fixes anything.
That does not surprise me. All right, let's go to Joey in California. He's up next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hi, Joey.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
We're doing great, man. How are you?
Well, a little disappointed.
Understandable.
Yesterday's game was unfortunate, but it wasn't so much that we lost. I mean, I didn't really know how we would fare against Washington, but still, the lack of touchdowns is just killing me on this team. But
yep,
I'm optimistic we could still get better next week. I know it's Dallas, but I'm still optimistic about it.
Hey, look, you're going to have to score next week, Joey. That's the thing. Dallas is going to put up points.
Yes.
They have too many good offensive players. They're going to score 20-something points. They just are. That's when Dak Prescott's healthy and CeeDee Lamb's healthy and they have George Pickens, they're going to figure out a way to score 20 points. You are going to have to do that if you want to win.
They're a top-heavy team
on
offense. It's that simple.
Oh, yes. And honestly, they didn't look that bad against Philly, so it's like, okay, maybe we're sleeping on them because I know they traded away Micah, but, don't sleep. I mean, if we have trouble with Washington's interior defensive line, then this one's going to be a problem too. But, the start of the season has always been a rough start for the Giants in the last few years. So, take the good with the bad in this game is what I say. The good for me was, offense didn't turn the ball over.
Yep.
That's a little positive. It wasn't anything great, but the bad was we still lost and we couldn't score touchdowns. But the one thing that bothers me is after the game, look, I don't mean to nitpick this, but Brian Dable, whenever coaches say we got to look at the tape, I want to ask you guys, is he saying we got to look at the tape for the game we just lost, or we got to look at the tape for Dallas because that's our next opponent?
No, what he's saying, and look, and I will, and I know it's frustrating as a fan to hear this because you want answers right after the game. I get it, but as someone that does go back and watch the All 22 every Monday morning, I know Paul does the same. Mm-hmm. You do learn a lot of things from watching the tape that you do not see during the game, especially watching from the sideline, where we have the advantage of seeing replays on TV. Dave will get an occasional replay on the video board, and he'll get some photos, and then stuff like that they send down to the sideline. But you really do need to look back and see what happened on some of these plays before you start judging individual performances. But Joe, I got to be honest with you. I've left games before saying, boy, I really think this player played poorly. And then I'll look at it again. I'm like, you know what? It wasn't his fault on this play. It wasn't his fault on that play. So that's what he's talking about, that you really do need to see all 22 players on the field at once in that coach's film angle to really have a perfect feel for especially how individuals did in any particular game.
Yeah, and one more thing, and I'll let you guys get talking back on the show into the next caller. The one thing I can't stand right now is everybody, the media, the fans, they're going, bench Russ, start Dart. Look, it's week 1.
Yep.
And we're coming off a season where we had 3 wins last year, and this offensive line didn't do Russell any favors. So why would you want to start Dart behind this offensive line if Russell couldn't perform any better? Look, Russell's been having a bad few years, but Dart's a rookie, and, I don't think anybody could play well behind this offensive line right now. So can we pump the brakes on starting Dart until at least week 7 or 5 or something?
Look,
I think we're overreacting on it. That's all I wanted to say about it. I still believe in Russell. Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks, Joey. And look, I think we both agree with you on that.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to say it again if you didn't catch the early part in the show. Russell Wilson didn't play great by any stretch of the imagination, but he played well enough as the game was scuffling along that it was still only 14-6 in the fourth quarter. They were still only 1 score behind. Russell Wilson did enough to make this thing competitive, at least as much as it could possibly be. again, I'm not going to say he played great, but I still think Russell Wilson was more positive than negative in this game.
Yeah, and look, I think I'll put an even line. I think it was fine. I think there were things he could have done better, things that, he also didn't get a lot of help. So that's kind of how I'll sit it there. But to quote Brian Dable after the game, leaving the game, I'm not leaving the game saying this game was on him and it was his fault.
No,
and I think
not at all.
And
not
look,
at all.
We'll see what Brian Dable says. When he speaks to the media at 1:30, I did not want to open the show with the whole quarterback thing because I figured that would be all the calls we would get. Paul and I were very clear about this all offseason. You know how we feel about it. You know what our thoughts are about on it. We don't need to regurgitate those. We'll see what the coach says at 1:30, and we will go from there. 201-939-4513, Len in Columbia, Maryland. Hi, Len.
Hey, guys. Here we are again.
Sorry you had to sit through that yesterday, Len, in person.
Were you
He was
there?
Yeah, he went.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there. Yeah. Well, listen, disappointed, obviously. I was feeling pretty good about the team. Disappointed, but not terribly shocked. I mean, Washington went to the NFC championship game last year.
Oh, they're a good team.
And they were a good team. They got a terrific quarterback, and 18 new players, and they filled in some places where they were maybe a little weak last year. John, the last call we had last week, I don't know, Paul may have been in on this. I said the one thing that worried me was the size and physicality of Washington's defensive front.
No, I agree, Len. They were more physical than the Giants'
big and
offensive
powerful.
line. I agree with that. They were more physical than the Giants' offensive line in this game. I don't disagree with that.
And
They controlled it.
they're going to be all year. That's going to be an important part of the Commanders' efforts to get back to the championship game. Is going to be the physicality.
You know who was
of that
really good
line.
for them,
They're
I
gonna punish
thought?
a lot of people.
I thought Dietrich Wise was really good.
As a team, they played well enough to win a division game at home, and you can't ask for more than that. A couple of statistics to points and numbers that may add to this thing about the weakness of the offensive line, particularly the interior. The 5 defensive linemen that played for the Commanders yesterday were credited with 16 tackles. We had 6, extra 3. They had 2 pass defense by the defensive line. I think Payne got both of them. They got 2 sacks. Every offensive lineman that played got credited with a tackle for loss. We just couldn't contain them.
No, look, they were in the backfield way too often, Len. No one would would fight you on that.
Yeah. Wilson has been 5'11" for his whole career, and he's going to the Hall of Fame at 5'11". They got pushed back in. I mean, what else can you say? As Paul said, I just said at the beginning of the show, you got to get those 3 guys and say it's got to be better, or you got to go into what you got on the rest of the roster, or what you got on the practice squad, and try to make it a little better. And I think it will be this week. I don't think we'll see as physical a defensive front as we saw with Washington, and maybe things will be a little better. It looks like that cornerback job is Flotz.
It certainly looks that way.
It does.
They put Banks in. Flotz started, as you know. Played the first 2 downs, and then Banks came in on 3rd down. Next series, they worked it the same way. Slowly but surely, Banks was not playing, and I thought there was one telling play, one moment in the game where Banks went on the field with the defense to start a series, and they pulled him back. Terrible.
Banks played 11 snaps in the game, 16%. Cordell Flott played 84% of the... I'm sorry. Cordell Flott played, 84% of the snaps, 59 of them. And I thought Flott he had a couple rough spots early on. He allowed a couple guys to get open on him. I thought he actually made one really good play in the run game on the right edge. He made a poor play on the left edge near the goal line on the Krosky Merritt early touchdown. And again, he made a really good play blowing up that one screen on the left side. So I thought there was some good and some bad for Flott throughout the game.
Well, he got beat by that 35-yarder by a practice squad player.
Yeah.
Called up the day before the game.
Yeah, by more. It was, I mean, again, that was one of the rough moments earlier that I was talking about.
Did Banks regress, or has Flott gotten better?
Good question. I mean, remember, Banks did. I don't think Banks missed around 2 to 3 weeks with an injury in camp, and I think that really hurt him.
Set him back.
But I mean, clearly they did not see enough from him to elevate him into that full-time role, I guess is how I would put it, right, Paul?
I think Flott has certainly gotten better. I think last year we saw a great improvement in him.
Especially once he played outside almost exclusively.
No surprise, to be honest with you. And he continued to have a really, really good offseason. And I think that's why they continued to prod Banks with Flott, with the threat that Flott could potentially, jump you if you don't watch it. But then when Banks went down and missed, the last 2.5 weeks, I guess, of camp, that's the worst timing. I'm going to tell you right now, Len, you know this. You've been watching the game a long time, too. If you're going to be unavailable, the worst time in the world is right before opening day. That's almost assuredly going to get your butt on the bench.
Yeah. I thought that the one play that I referred to with Banks where he came in and they pulled him off the field.
I'll go back and look for that. I don't remember seeing it.
God,
I don't remember seeing it either.
I mean, how embarrassing it gets. I mean, that's unbelievable. I don't know the breakdown in communication, but you hate to see things like that. Not that he's a better player than Flott is. I just didn't like to see that. It had to be embarrassing for the guy. Couple of questions. It's not the end of the world, by the way. I mean, we're playing Dallas next week. Look, I've been realistic all year long. I've been telling you. I hate to use this. We're just a ways away from getting to the playoff caliber team. We got to just. I don't know if Dable's going to be there to help us do that. I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Probably Dart. But it's going to take some time. This is, it's not that good a roster. Inside linebacker, I hope McFadden is okay. Maybe he loses a little bit of time. I like the kid who subbed for him, but they went right after him. Ertz scored the touchdown. They went right after Marcel.
They did.
And it's funny, Len. I know you probably didn't notice this, Paul. I'm wondering if you noticed it on the coach's tape. Did you notice Okereke noticed that matchup and tried to get him and Nubin switched before the play, but they ran out of time?
And then when Ertz moved off to the left and then they snapped the ball, Ertz makes this body move off to the outside, and he does it out and an in. And Mursau now knows he's beaten on the inside slant move that Ertz makes. Yeah. And Okereke, who knew it was coming.
He was late getting over there.
He wanted to. What he wanted to do was to cut in front of Ertz and almost bracket him. But he got there too late, and that's why the ball got
they had
through.
Nubin on Bates, the other tight end on the other side of the field, and I think they wanted to try to swap those two on that, and they just ran out of time before the snap to do it.
Oh, yeah. Len, when I watched it this morning, it wasn't any better than it was yesterday.
By the way, Okereke was credited 60 goals.
Yes, I know.
I thought he played pretty well.
He was active, but he had to make a lot of plays on his own, unfortunately.
Yeah, he did. He had to make a lot of them on his own.
And
hey, 2 quick questions. I'll take them off air. John knows one of them that's coming. What in the world was that with letting the punter kick off at the start of the game? I couldn't believe it. I'm hyped. I'm ready to go, and I look out there. I got my binoculars on the 11, and I come to the kicker, and it's Gillum and not Graham Gano. What in the world? And then another one. Hey, listen, guys. Do we really want to see Wandale return another kickoff?
Well,
the guy's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt. Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Thanks, Len. I'm never one to worry about
it is what it is.
Hiding guys on kicks, to be honest with you.
No,
that's just me. And that's the funny thing. And, I just assume they use Gillum on the kickoff to protect Gano from himself, trying to tackle somebody or run after. But then Gano kicked later in the game. So Dable was not asked that before the game. I'm curious what his answer. I'm not sure he'll be asked that today or not.
There might have been a strategic thing behind that too.
Or it could have been like an equipment issue with Gano or something. Maybe like his shoelace broke or something like that, and they couldn't get the shoe switched out. It could have been any number of things. So I don't want to guess what that was. Let's go to Coach Marvin in Delaware. Coach Marvin, you'll wrap us up today. What's up, buddy?
How you doing, John and Paul?
Doing okay.
I know it was a tough one. I didn't even get to see the second half. I'm in North Carolina on business, but watching the first half, it actually looked like we was getting bullied the whole time. A lot of things that were happening out there was looks like the only way Washington was getting stopped in the first half was they were stopping themselves. And I think Paul said it. One of you two said it that game looked like it could have been 28-3, and it definitely could have. It felt that way the whole time. And watching the game, and then I was listening to it, it just felt like it was an uphill battle, even though we were down 14-6. I couldn't believe they were down 14-6, but it still appeared to be an uphill battle, and we're going to have to get it fixed. You guys are right. I've been through that. I had a year where I had a horrible first game, and we actually ended up in the championship game. It's just a regroup and challenging your players during the week, especially after in their case, they see it on film. You got to challenge your guys, and hopefully they'll stand up to it. And the thing with Jackson Dart, I knew this was coming. As soon as I heard last week the depth chart, I said, we're putting ourselves in a box here, because if you're going to move him to second string, and I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it because I'm not in the practice, he's only one snap away from playing anyway. So as soon as I saw that, I said, this is not I was with you guys in the beginning. Let him sit, and when we're out of it, week 10, week 11, I don't care, week 14, put him in, and let's see what we got going in the next year. I get this feeling, I don't know, but I get the feeling the clock is ticking, and he's on the verge of getting in the game. People trying to say, week 5, week 7, I'm with y'all, with those people, but my gut tells me it's not going to matter. It looks like it may turn out to be something like a Kansas City game. People saying the Saints. It doesn't matter when you go in. Even if it's a tough team, you got to go in. And when I was in the military, a guy told me one day, I was 17, and this was during the Iran hostage time, and I got a little nervous. And he said, if you scared, buy yourself a dog. And that was the most painful thing I ever had somebody say to me. I never heard it again in my whole life. And if these guys are scared, they better buy themselves a dog. And we got to get back on track. And it goes back to what I told you one time before, John. You got to have the 3 Ps. You got to prepare, you got to practice, and then you got to perform. And that's all I have, guys.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate the call.
John, I do want to go back to the Moore catch. I had Flott on the coverage there, and I just watched it on replay. Banks was not even on the field on that play.
No, I don't think anyone's. I didn't say Banks was on the field.
No, I think Len did.
Did he? No. He said Flott. He meant
did
Flott.
he?
Yeah, I think
okay.
so.
I'm sorry.
So. No, yeah.
I thought he said Banks.
No, that was definitely Flott on that play. He really got turned around on that play. I think he thought Moore was going to run to the post, and he ended up running a little flag route. So
anyway, yep.
Pearson, do you want to hang out to see if Dable says something off the top here, or do you want to just wrap? What do you want to do? You want to hang out for a second? Sure. All right, we can hang out for a second. We'll see if we get any YouTube, or rather, we get any word from Twitter about what Coach Dable says on his Zoom call.
I'm sure Dan Solomon is all over it.
Yeah, assuming he is still, well, I'm sure if whatever he says about the quarterbacks, Paul, Dan Solomon will not be the only person that tweets about it.
No.
I promise you that one.
Quite frankly, I'm more concerned about McFadden's injury than I am anything else, because I don't have any doubt about what's going on with the quarterbacks.
Poke your head out the door and see if this is imminent or not. If it doesn't look like it is, we can wrap. He's going right now. All right, so we should have word momentarily on what Brian Dable says about the quarterback situation. So we'll hang out there for a minute or two, and we will see exactly what he says. I figure that's important enough for us to get some word on, and we can make a couple comments on it before we wrap up. Tomorrow it'll be Howard Cross and I tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, right, Pearson, on the Big Blue Kickoff Live schedule, I believe. So it'll be Howard and I tomorrow. We're going to have Sean and Madeline coming around on Wednesday. I can give you, this is a perfect time to read a little copy before we hear what Brian Dable had to say to the media.
Sure.
Run or walk with Giants legends. The Giants will host a 5K racing kids run presented by Quest on Sunday, October 26th, 9 a.m. at Life Stadium. Net proceeds will benefit the Giants Foundation. All participants will receive a commemorative T-shirt. And after the race, stay for a post-race festival with appearances by Giants legends and a live DJ. Register now at Giants.com/5K. The Giants Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. You can also join the Giants at the Ultimate New York Giants Women's Tailgate, presented by Joe Malone. The ticketed event will take place on Sunday, September 28th, before the Chargers game from 10 a.m. to noon. Attendees will have a chance to hang out with Madeline Burke, some Giants legends, a curated custom merchandise shop, Kendra Scott activation, tailgate games, giveaways, photo appearances, live DJ, and more. Tailgate food and one drink ticket are included with the ticket purchase. Tailgate is only 21 years of age or older. Of course, Giants take on the Cowboys. That game, believe it or not, is a 1 o'clock game next week, which is usually not a 1 o'clock game for Giants-Cowboys. In fact, it's almost always some kind of night game or a 4:25er. The reason it is 1 o'clock, and Dan Duggan, Dable will confirm that Russell Wilson will start against the Cowboys next Sunday, which, again, not surprised, but I just wanted to make sure we got that from the horse's mouth before we wrapped up today. So, again, you do all these evaluations over the course of the summer, Paul. You come up with a plan. To just remove yourself from that plan that quickly after one game, I think is just bad process. So stick with it, see what happens, see how the game goes, and then we move on from there.
You and Lance tomorrow, by the way.
Oh, me and Lance tomorrow. Is Howard the next week? Howard's next week. All right. So me and Lance tomorrow. Well, it's in fairness, if I didn't tell them which one it was, they might not be able to tell them apart. Very similar. So I'm happy we got that right.
I needed that.
So people were not confused tomorrow.
Thank you, John.
When I was joined by Lance Meadow.
Oh, I needed a reason to crack a smile today. Thank you so much.
For Paul Dottino, I'm John Schmeelk. That's Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the Giants. From the Hackensack Meridian Health Podcast Studio, keep getting better. Thank you, Pearson Butler. We'll see you tomorrow at 12:30. Try to enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.